Martin Opio, KTN.
And while a moral showdown is unfolding between lawmakers and the Ministry of Health over deep corruption in Kenya's organ donation and transplant system. At the center of the controversy is Dr. Swarap Mishra, head of the Mediheal Group of Hospitals. An independent investigation committee formed by the Ministry of Health has questioned their conduct, but the Parliamentary Departmental Committee on Health has pardoned them, recommending that they continue operations as normal despite the damning findings. Vera Mora has more details on this.
After months of ongoing probe into the cell, tissue and organ transplant at Mediheal Group of Hospitals, KTN has exclusively acquired a highly incriminating report that was quietly diluted before being made public. In our possession are two conflicting documents: an audit by the Independent Investigative Committee on Tissue and Organ Transplant Services submitted to the Ministry of Health in July 2025, and the final report of Parliament's Departmental Committee on Health tabled on April 15, 2026. These reports present starkly different versions of the same investigation. The ministry's audit exposes systematic exploitation, trafficking networks, and detailed evidence of malpractice. In contrast, Parliament's committee declared it found no evidence linking the hospital to any legalities and urged that sanctions against Mediheal be lifted. The independent investigators' report reads like a nightmare. It includes a testimony by the senior nephrologist running Mediheal's kidney transplant program, who admits he was operating essentially alone without ethics oversight, peer review, or a multidisciplinary team. The most alarming findings from this report is the complete absence of proper legal documentation across all 407 cases examined. Every single affidavit lacked either the donor's signature or the affidavit date, meaning that not one case meets basic legal documentation standards. Most affidavits lacked basic details such as gender, signature, or proof of relationship. None were in the patient's file when first requested. Additionally, all legal checks for both local and foreign patients were handled by a lawyer tied to Mediheal, a clear conflict of interest. On clinical and operational concerns, investigators indicated inadequate follow-up care, staff overextension, laboratory oversight failures. Despite all these findings, the Departmental Committee on Health recommended that any sanctions placed on the Mediheal Group of Hospitals, including suspension of licenses, be lifted, with the exception of licenses related to organ transplants. In other words, where the ministry investigators saw a reckless and isolated practitioner, the MPs saw a well-equipped hospital, and where investigators identified a systematic failure of clinical governance, the MPs saw a facility ready for business. The Mediheal team also informed the ministry's investigators that the facility has carried out 476 kidney transplants between 2018 and March 2025, the youngest being 80 years and the oldest patient 80 years old. The donor pool was male-dominated, with 77.2% women comprised only 13.5% of donor population. Additionally, most patients being predominantly Kenyans, as well as some international patients. Premium pricing structure: Mediheal's average billing for the transplant was 2.3 million Kenyan shillings, which exceeded other facilities by more than double. Once again, Kenya's parliament had a choice to stand with its citizens or to protect a billionaire, but it chose the billionaire. Vera Mora, KTN.
Thank you for that.